Hi, everyone. Oh, wow. 2 weeks in a row of a little hiccup when you're jumping onto your live. Always a little fun, but hence the live session. So, thank you so much for being here. As you pop on, please let me know. It looks like there's a little bit of a challenge with LinkedIn. I'm just gonna see if I can pull this trigger on LinkedIn because something's happening. It's having some sort of a glitch. Okay, hopefully that's a temporary glitch on LinkedIn. I think most people obviously watch through YouTube, but I'm just going to continue to try and push that and fix that error. Again, this is kind of par for the course when going live. Sometimes you have some hiccups, and that's okay. It's all part of the journey. I am for the second week in a row, just trying to get things wrapped up and coming to the session. So, thank you so much for being here. Let's dive right in. If you did not get a chance to check out yesterday's video, uh, please do so. I cannot emphasize enough how often I see candidates answering these negative questions incorrectly. Specifically, tell me about a time you failed. That's what I covered yesterday in that video. And so, what most people do is it's a story. It's a story about the failure, and maybe they bring in like a short learning at the end. The goal of the conflict, failure, all those questions that have a negative tone and are talking about something negative, we focus in on saying the failure was X, the conflict was X, and then you pivot into the actions you took to overcome that negative incident. And so, what you're doing is you're showing how you adapt and adjust to these challenging times. So, again, I've been pushing a lot of question and answer videos, and some of them are performing okay, but what I'm really trying to show is in those question and answer videos. Look, I don't want to necessarily say watch them a couple times, but you can kind of see what I'm driving towards in those videos. And on the behavioral side, we're absolutely driving towards the how. And then when it's a failure, we're really focusing in on the how we overcame it. So, lots to talk about today. The overall theme that I want to discuss. Um, oh shoot, I'm just seeing the comments. Um, can people hear me? Let me just pause for a second. I had another I had the banners open. Can people just come in and let me know that you can actually hear me? My mic looks like it's working, but this is the second week in a row. Everything looks good on my end. I'm just going to pause really quickly. Can people see and hear me right now? And I'll let people comment. I know we have an audience now, but again, I just want to make sure anybody who can pop in really quickly and just let me know, because the last note I got was that you couldn't hear and it was still loading. I'm gonna keep talking. Yes, okay. Thank you so much. Again, this is just part of the joy of going live. Thank you so much for that. And going live a lot, you get used to the little hiccups. So thank you so much, everybody, for coming in and let me know that I'm not talking to myself. So today, are you still applying to jobs? That's the theme. And so, in a pretty sleepy 2023, sometimes we'll have downtimes in these lives. We haven't had a ton of it, but in the downtimes, we'll talk about are you still applying to jobs and some other opportunities for success that can get you away from that application process. We're 4 minutes in. It's kind of a long warm up. As people are coming in, let me know where you're visiting from. And obviously, I am here to answer any and all questions. So don't hold back. We do not just need to talk about the applying the jobs piece. These are really open format, open sessions. And of course, comments are really valuable too. I'm going to do a quick prompt on my services, and then we'll start talking about are you still applying to jobs? And then as questions come in, I'll answer them. So, the practice interviews initial launch is this week. And so if you haven't had a chance, go to practiceinterviews.com/AI and you can become an early adopter. Here's what being an early adopter means. We are going to slowly start allowing people to use the platform for free. We're going to take that user feedback and we're going to adapt and adjust the tool based on that feedback. I'm not going to give access to 100% of early adopters. It would just be too many. I've had some really, really a good number of signups so far, but we're slowly going to go through iterations of releasing each new version out to the community for free. And the goal is to really have the paid launch sometime, probably end of January is the goal. If you sign up as an early adopter, you're going to get a discount. It's going to probably be in that 50% range. So even if you don't really want to test the tool before it's all done and official and a paid launch, just by getting on that list, you're going to get that discount. And so it's something that I strongly encourage, but we're super excited about this. We're following the lean startup model. So it's iterate and build and build and build in sprints. And then we're going to have that paid tool. But the tool's not going to be great if I don't get feedback from you, the community. So I appreciate it. Obviously, I'm here to do one-on-one interview coaching, one-on-one negotiation coaching, and we have our interview mastery course. I am going to be having a Black Friday sale, some deep discounts on the course. I'm even going to be discounting my coaching a little bit to just do a drive towards the end of the year, which, hey, by the way, it's always sleepy in December, the slowest time of year for hiring. If you like what I'm doing, smash that like button. If you've never subscribed, I go live 10 a.m. Pacific time every single Tuesday, new original content every Monday. I think that's it. I think let's dive in and see what's going on. Okay. Hi. Thanks for being here. And you followed up and let me know. Thanks so much. Anytime you come in and you can't hear or see me and it looks like we're having a glitch on LinkedIn today, unfortunately, it's a big bummer. But anytime, I just need that feedback. So it's super helpful for me. Okay. Everybody's happy. Okay, Brad. Sounds good. Thanks. Okay. Happy Tuesday. Hey, Liz. Thanks for always showing up, tuning in from Sarasota, and have stopped applying the traditional way. Okay, we'll get into that, but why don't we're kind of lean on questions right now. So let's talk a little bit about it. There has been a lot this year. I've never seen as much of an uptick this year on LinkedIn, and I want to be really careful and create the psychological safety here, but it seems as though some people are wearing applications as a badge of honor, meaning I applied to 100 jobs and I didn't get an interview. I applied to 500 jobs and I didn't get an interview. I applied to 1,000 jobs and I only got 3 interviews. It's not a badge of honor. The number of job applications, if you're applying to hundreds of jobs, likely a lot of those jobs aren't going to be the ideal fit. What do we also know? In 2023, the actual number of jobs has gone down. You see these jobs reports, especially, and I know we have a global audience, but you see jobs reports in the US specifically saying how great the job market is. But this audience is going typically after some of the tougher roles. There are less of those roles, more applicants. So we're talking about maybe a 2 to 5% statistically of getting a job, of getting an interview. Just getting an interview when applying. So the percentage chance of you applying to a job, interviewing, and actually landing the job is 1%. So what are we doing with that other 99%? And that's what we want to talk about in our downtime today. How are you going about networking, getting referrals, really customizing things and leaning out your job search and thinking about more creative strategies for getting jobs? And we'll double down on that quite a bit. And I'm just going to continue to try and go live on LinkedIn. It looks like it's not going to happen today, which is just a little bit of a bummer because it means that some people will miss out, but that's okay. Is it still possible to get in the Slack group? Yes, I had somebody reach out to me and offer to help with the Slack thing. If anybody knows anybody at Slack, I mean, this is just I'm frustrated. It's been a long time, and I've had a lot of support tickets, but not actually being able to speak to somebody and just figure out why 50% of people have no challenge signing up for my Slack group, and then 50% have a huge challenge. If anybody knows the answer to that question, bring it on, please. For anybody who does have a challenge, email me directly at jeff@practiceinterviews.com and just say, having challenges with the Slack group, Slack link, just please add me manually. Thank you for that. Hey, Jeff, my G timeline, team specific role systems engineer at HQ, September 18th, finished final on-site round. Recruiter says it's positive from the team. Didn't receive the offer. Wait is killing me. So I think we'll come back and I'll kick a question back to you. When was the last time that you actually had had any contact with your recruiter? I'll go right here. This is the if our recruiter were in process and our application doesn't get closed out, you'll know because you'll get a candidate survey if it gets closed out. If it gets closed out, and that's the last contact you have is getting a survey, you got to put your recruiter on blast. It means they never told you that you weren't getting the job. Now, if you've messaged them multiple times and you haven't heard from them, and or you've been messaging them and it's been about a month, use this email address, google-candidate-support at google.com, and you'll hear back within 24 hours or less. It's an offshore team and they're just driving results, and that recruiter will hear about it because obviously they're doing a pretty poor job if they're not getting back to you. Let me know if you have more questions on that. At its face, okay. At its face, I'm fine with my new job. Everyone is cool. Work seems all right. Just the concept of coming in and being present for some reason tires me. Interesting. Okay, let's talk about it. I mean, let's talk about some potential workarounds or solutions um, for getting your energy drained by having to be in the office and being live and being present. One is boundaries. I'm reading this great book. Let me actually I'll pull it up for the audience. So I'm reading this book. It's called actually ironically I wasn't intentionally trying to read this book, but it's called and sorry, I'm just going to try and pull this up. It's called The Book of Boundaries. And the Book of Boundaries, it's really good. My wife and I share an Audible account, and it came up, and I didn't know if I had bought it or she had bought it, but I started listening. And so, one way to not be tired is to create boundaries in the workspace. Boundaries for when you just want to actually do your work and kind of set that tone with your leadership, with your coworkers, to let them know when you just need to be doing the deep work, set your boundaries. That can be a number of different items. It can be just putting like a big red piece of paper on the back of your chair, which means, hey, I'm in deep work mode, like don't disturb me. But setting those boundaries will probably give you some of your energy back. Okay, that's one. Secondarily, and I was actually talking about this with a friend yesterday, our breath is really important. When we get tired or frustrated or have anxiety or stress, just breathing one deep breath, you see the change in my voice? It just got calmer because just one breath can reset us. So, just taking deep breaths. I know that people come in here and they probably don't want to hear me talk about breath work, but I use my breath all the time in conversations and moments when I get stressed, when I have anxiety, when I'm just tired. I breathe through it, and that can be a second successful tip. So, setting boundaries and breathing. Those are my two recommendations. Let me know if you have more questions. So here's my question. Okay, Liz, I'm keen on a new company with a couple of openings that would be a good fit. I want to write the prospective hiring manager a letter. Do you have any advice for this? Um, yes. I mean, you know, I think everybody here knows that my networking strategy, but I'll just give the 2 seconds on it. My networking strategy is a give first strategy. So if we identify the hiring manager, my usual go-to or recommendation is to say, hey, Sue, came across your profile, looks great, wanted to share this cool article on AI that's really relevant to your role. Have a great day. Like something simplistic like that. Now, sometimes we just don't have the patience for that. So let's just kind of flip the coin. I think it's really about, for you, Liz, providing upfront value of not necessarily maybe a little bit about what you bring to the role, but like trends in the space and important things to keep in mind. Because if it's more driven towards holistic problem solving, that could be a really, really good approach as opposed to reaching out to this hiring manager. And again, my fake person's always Sue to say, Sue, here's why I'm great for all these reasons. And this is why you should hire me. Giving more constructive feedback, sharing good articles, videos, etc. I think that's a good path, but we have to understand that jobs move quick, lots of applications. So it's just something to keep in mind. Okay, we're getting a note. Oh, wow. This is crazy. I'm getting some weird error from LinkedIn. They won't let me in. Um, that's okay. So, Liz, I hope that helps. But come back to me if you want. I gotta. Okay. Okay. Hi, Jeff. I got so much help from your content. It's amazing. Thanks a lot. Awesome. Finished 4 on-site interviews, and they've requested 1 additional casual chat with a team member. Okay, awesome. It seems like I got a good score for 3 interviews. One was okay, but I kind of screwed up one. Do you think this would affect a lot? I'm so nervous. So rarely do people crush all the interviews. And, I think that there's this kind of misconception, right? That we need to be perfect in the interviews, that our interview answers holistically across the board need to be great. And it's just not the case, right? So usually people are going to have some great interviews and then one okay or decent interview. They are bringing you into the casual conversation, which could be pre-team match. It could technically be the team match stage. It's because they like you. Okay. So in casual conversations, and I talk about this a ton, is in casual conversations, you need to be prepared to talk a little bit about yourself. Tell me about yourself, why you're interested in the company, and then you need to be ready for any other behavioral hypothetical questions. And you need to bring great questions to the table. And if you're going into a casual chat with me, you better ask about me, because most people like talking about themselves and therefore they will like you more. So, many people with the question asking in these casual chats, what are the biggest challenges? What do I need to do here? And it's like, well, what do you love about the role? What do you love about your job? What's the coolest thing you're working on with the team? If we make it a little bit more driven about them and we get them talking about themselves, 2 things will happen. One, they're going to like us more. And secondarily, if they're like, oh, the company's okay. Yeah, the team's kind of screwed up. Now we're getting insight into the fact that we probably don't want to work on this team or for this company, especially the team matters the most. The overall company, you can work at the greatest company in the world, but if the leadership within that team, if the team members aren't great, it's not going to be great. So those are some suggestions. Don't be nervous. Look at it as a positive. They like you, and see it as an opportunity to really land the job. You're waiting to finish your switch up program to AI ML, then we'll start early April 2024. But you want to start a new way of applying for the job and avoid the old ways and lack in communications. I'm speaking from Virginia, and very nice weather and sunny. Amazing. I'm in San Diego, so I mean it's probably the best weather in the US. So probably some of the best weather in the world. So I can never complain. So you're waiting to finish up. Okay. You want to start a new way of applying for jobs. So it's not that I want to tell people not to apply for jobs. I just want people to understand the statistics of applying for jobs. Statistically, the percentages are not in your favor. So if you are still applying for jobs, I would say apply to way less. And then when you apply to jobs, if your resume is not specifically catered for that specific job, that's just low hanging fruit. And that was I don't know if people got the thumbnail. I wanted to put apply now in the apples on the apple tree in the thumbnail, but it just didn't. It was the text was too small. But just applying and throwing your resume at a ton of jobs and not catering your resume to that job, that's low hanging fruit, and low hanging fruit usually isn't going to yield any great results. And so if you are thinking about applying to jobs, I would just say really switch out the resume summary. Make sure that those first 5 to 7 bullets align with the responsibilities, the overall job description, what's needed in the job. And then each time save that resume as the date, the role, and the company. That way you can always go back and just use a similar resume if a like or the same role comes up in the future. I hope that helps, but let me know if you have any questions. I followed up with a recruiter weekly. Recruiter says they're interviewing other candidates. Can I hear something by the end of November? Okay, so they're interviewing other candidates. I mean, sometimes at some point, right? Like And let me go back to your previous comment just so we can be really attached to this. So you finished your final round on September 18th. I think that this is an okay time. We're at 2 months out. And so I think just a little bit more transparency and clarity in a really gracious and kind way. You might reach out to your recruiter and say, look, it's been a couple months. I am so grateful and appreciative that you've stayed in touch and you've been very responsive. But at this point, I need to know like what's going on 2 months later. I just would love a little bit more transparency to understand, is my feedback actually good enough? Because at 2 months, it's feeling like it was good, but the team is just looking for somebody else. Like a real candid conversation. You can ask, just I would really appreciate some transparency, some candor, etc. Because when they string you along this long, here's what I think happened. Your feedback is good. That's why they're not letting you go. But there were some things in that feedback in that interview that just weren't 100% matched. And they keep interviewing, trying to find somebody who they think is a stronger match, and they haven't found that person yet. But there's something from the feedback, something that's holding it back. And at some point, recruiters just need little to do a little bit better job, some with transparency and clarity and just providing a little bit more information. There's no confidentiality broken there. So keep us updated, but I would push a little bit. Just be very, very gracious and kind. Run that script through Chat GPT to see if it can create any nuances, really soften the tone for you, and come back and let us know what happens. What should I discuss in a manager one-to-one? Have them weekly, but never have stuff to talk about. Okay, Tyson, this is a big area. Okay, so here's my recommendation. And this is such a great question because I just want to give the context. And anybody who's watched my lives know I'm a little bit of a storyteller, but I try to keep it brief. This was a big challenge for me at the end of my time at Google. We're sitting in one-to-ones. I did not have a great manager relationship. They showed up on average 7 to 8 minutes late for every one-to-one. They weren't engaged. They were not supportive of me. So I shut down in the one-to-ones. I stopped telling them anything. I stopped talking about what was going on. I just said, I got nothing for you. And that really hurt me, actually. It was my opportunity to be proactive in those one-to-ones and bring more to the table. Here's the biggest challenge area I see with one-to-ones at all companies, all levels of leadership. This is a constant challenge. In your one-to-ones, you should be talking about how you're working towards achieving what you set as your quarterly, biannual, or annual goals. If you do not have those goals set, it's a time to reset with your leadership and say, hey, I want to establish some really good goals of what I should be working towards, because I think that would bring more value into our one-to-ones. But you should always be looking at the bigger picture, talking about those goals. Secondarily, leadership is there to remove blockers. So you should be talking about any challenges you have. Excuse me. You can also be talking about opportunities that you see within the group, maybe some project work. But if you don't have a mapped out plan of something you're working towards, it's going to be really hard to be successful because, yeah, you're going to go into your one-to-ones and you're not going to know what to talk about. So always working back towards the larger quarterly, biannual, or annual goals is going to be a great starting point. And if those aren't established, talk with your manager, and then challenges and obstacles that you're having and any project work you want to bring up. I hope that helps. But this is a little bit of a way to manage your manager in one-to-ones. And if we disengage and we don't talk about anything, it's going to hurt our careers. I really hope that helps. Hey, Jeff, been watching your live recording. So happy to be watching your live for the first time. Okay, first time here. Okay, we welcome all first timers. I know I have no idea what the mix is on a weekly basis. I know we have our people coming back all the time, but I think we get some new peeps every week. And then, unfortunately, LinkedIn, some sort of glitch with LinkedIn today. So we'll have a little bit of a smaller audience today. Great job you're doing for the community. I'm in the Google team matching process. What's your thoughts on being proactive and sending my recruiter some job rec or directly applying? So Absolutely not on directly applying when you're in the team match stage. I just strongly recommend against it. Like, you're at this stage for a reason for that job. So don't apply to other jobs. Now, sending your recruiter jobs, here's the recommendation. We start by building the relationship with the recruiter, meaning that you ask them, you say, hey, if I come across a position, is it okay if I share it with you? Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking occasionally I can send you one job description. I can send you the link. I can send you some bullets for why I think I'm a fit. I can send you my availability to have a call about that role, and I can send you an updated resume. If we took that approach, would that work for you? Because what happens when people are in the team match stage is they throw their recruiters a ton of jobs, a lot of which are probably not a fit. So you want to focus in on one, and then you want to provide all that additional information. Bullets for why you're a fit, your availability. I even go as far as, I know this is ridiculous, but in the email, you actually re-put your email address and your phone number, and then you add in your availability for the next few weeks, and then you attach a new resume. Here's why. Because if you do all that in the email, it just allows your recruiter, let's call your recruiter Jane, to just take that, go into the system really quickly, find out who the recruiter is for that role. Let's say it's Bob, put Bob's email address in and just forward all the information over. And so I strongly recommend those steps. You're removing the barriers to entry and making it much easier for your recruiter to help you. I hope that helps. How do you approach discussing salary expectations during an initial recruiter call? Typically, I ask for a salary range for the role before determining if it aligns with my expectations. Well, understand the legality, right? So legality is a huge first step. Understand in your country and or state, are they required to provide the salary range? And if they are, and you ask and they won't give it, you could just say, hey, legally, you're supposed to be able to provide that information. I want to say that with the nicest tone, but I've just been talking to a number of other companies in state, and you're the first, or in this country, and you're the first recruiter to not provide a salary range. It's a huge red flag if they won't do it and they don't know it. That's one. Secondarily, um, oftentimes there's this confusion because the laws are base salary, but you may want to also ask, what are the other components of the offer? Do you provide an annual bonus? Do you provide a sign-on bonus? Do you provide equity? Because so many people get fixated on the base salary, which is very important, but oftentimes offers will have other components that will add to the total compensation. And at the end of the day, we care about total comp, not just base salary. So that's a second area. And then third, if they ask for your estimated total comp, a range, I would just not give it to them. I'd say, I'm open and negotiable for the right opportunity. I want to meet with the team, learn a little bit more about the role before I talk about it. If they push, say, yeah, I appreciate it. You're doing your job. I get it. I'm not going to talk about it at this time, but if you'd be willing to at least provide me with the base salary range, I would appreciate it. And again, if they say no and it's a law, it's just a flag. It should be in the job description, and if it's not, where again it's a legal thing, it just be aware of that. I hope that helps. Let me know if you have more questions. I gave an interview last week. How are coding interviews assessed at Google? I was able to complete the questions in full. How long should I wait before I hear back from Google? If you gave an interview last week, it would depend on the day. I would say if you don't hear back in 5 business days, you follow up with them. Coding interviews are typically very data structures and algorithm focused. So if you did well in those areas, typically you'll do well. But they're holistically looking for feel. This is actually one of the areas that I think Google does a great job of. So they're going to go through that coding interview. They're going to take some notes, and then at the end, they're going to put a feeling score. So that could be strong higher, higher, leaning higher, leaning no higher, no higher, strong no higher, right? And so the reason why I like that is because it removes some of the subjectiveness from the scoring, which isn't as clear. Whereas, like, I really think we should hire this person. I just think it's a better way to score people. So they're going to do that. Then they're going to go back, clean up their notes, and put in a final score. But getting into the weeds of how they look at that, I'm not an engineer. But obviously, if you feel like it went well, that's good news. 5 business days, and then make sure you're absolutely following up with them. Okay. So we're at the 30s. At the 30s, I'm just going to do a quick prompt on my services. If you have not gone to practiceinterviews.com/AI, if you just go to practiceinterviews.com and go to the upper right bar, you're going to have an opportunity to become an early adopter on our AI tool. I'm going to be releasing that to some people for free to get user feedback and iterate and make it better. And then everybody who signs up as an early adopter will get a discount. Okay. So it's a great opportunity. I've tested all the competitors. I've answered thousands of their questions on their platforms. And I can tell you the biggest differentiator is that this tool is going to drive towards fixing things in real time and not give you this, oh, consider fixing this or consider fixing that. Or did you think about this? It's here were the challenges in your situation and task. Let's go back and let's fix these 3 things so that instantly you're better at a situation and task and a behavioral answer, for example. I do one-on-one practice interviews, one-on-one negotiation coaching, and I have my interview mastery course. I am going to be doing a Black Friday sale, so please look out for that. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter, practiceinterviews.com, just sign up right there. If you like what I'm doing today, smash that like button. And if you've never subscribed, consider subscribing. All right, let's get right back to it. And I lost my place. So sorry. Sometimes when I go to the banners, it sets me back and then I have to figure out where I was. Okay, here we go. Oh, we just answered that one. Do you have a feeling whether layoffs are behind us? It seems like G is still semi-frequently soft laying off people, giving them 60 days to find a different team. The future state of hiring is going to get funky and it's going to get interesting. And I think that what you're going to see is I would be surprised if these big companies, and we're not just talking about big technical companies, but big companies in general, aren't able to keep driving their business with less employees. Why? Because the automation and tools are getting better and better to automate out people. And if we are not forward thinking and thinking about how AI will specifically impact our jobs, we should be. And so I don't think we're ever going to see layoffs go away, because I think some of the roles over time are really going to be they're going to be automated. And so you'll see layoffs for specific position types. And then I think, yeah, all these companies are doing softer layoffs based on product areas. So just something to keep in mind. Thanks, Jeff. Like the general problem solving approach, I'm actually a customer of the company. So would any feedback about the new UI update be appropriate? Feedback with solutions. So if you're going to provide feedback, you can say, three great options that may be beneficial. Steal these ideas. I wanted to share with you would be A, B, and C, and here's why. So maybe just a quick outline of like the 3 areas that you think could be areas for improvement, and then go down and expand on them instead of expanding on one at a time, because you want to make sure they read your message. So much in communication, we want to put the ideas and concepts up front. No surprise that I'm talking about this. This is what we do with the frameworks to our hypothetical answers. We want to uncover all the goodies right away, and then we're going to dive in. And this actually is a lot for like content creation. A lot of people are giving it all away up front to bring people in, and then they're going to drive towards those items piece by piece. Or when people write books, they give it away all up front, but then they do a deeper dive through the chapters. I hope that helps. Let me know if you have more questions. Joined a non-tech team, and we have tasks involving Word and Excel and sending regular weekly emails to stakeholders. I've been tasked with automating this or even streamlining this process as a vendor manager. Any thoughts? Yeah, I mean, so there Depends on your access to tools. Some tools are really going to help automate it out. I don't know exactly what tools you'll have and what you'll have access to, but this sounds great. I like the idea of automating anything, especially from a communication perspective, because if we wait on humans to communicate with each other, then sometimes people are going to drop the ball. It's just life, right? So I like the idea of automation. If you have any additional questions, let me know. But I like that you're working on this. I think it's important, but I would want to know if there's something specific that I can help with. Okay to ask about layoffs and divestiture during the initial phone interview with the recruiter. The company had layoffs earlier in the year. Okay. So maybe. Yes, I think it's okay with the recruiter to just kind of get a pulse, but get a feel for them, right? Because this is a pretty, I don't want to say negative necessarily, kind of is negative, but you could be bringing your recruiter down. And I'm such a person who focuses in on positivity. And so sometimes we just want to avoid talking about topics that can have a really negative feel because they translate that negative feel to you being negative, and then therefore they have a negative impression of you, and then they don't move forward. So tread lightly. If it comes up naturally, okay, but just talking about negative things and asking negative questions, I just don't see that being successful. Um, this is kind of when we get into more of like psychology and using some data and science, like when it comes to understanding how people operate. And one thing to know is that when when positive questions come up, people tend to reflect more positively upon you. And alternatively, when negative questions come up, they can translate that negativity to you as well. Not always the case, but just something to be aware of. What should we expect in terms of new position openings December through March? I'm trying to decide if I should just take a break in December due to the holidays. Okay. So December's tough, and it's not to say that if you see job openings that you shouldn't be applying or, well, I don't love applying, but shouldn't be trying to get after those positions in December. Um, you shouldn't take a break necessarily because it could be an opportunity when others are taking a break to get your foot in the door. But new position postings, December, you're not going to see a ton. And I also think that there's a little bit of a misconception that all of a sudden in January, all these new openings hit. It depends. It's usually a little bit of a soft roll into the new year. That also depends on company size. Smaller companies, a little bit more nimble. They get the budget. They can release those roles in January. But bigger companies, just take some time to get those jobs out. So sometimes it's hitting more like second quarter, April-ish. But I would just say I don't ever think it's a good idea to pause. If you're looking for a job, just get after it. But just understand that the follow-up in December might be a little slower, especially in the back end of December, the last 2 weeks in December. I hope that helps. Hey, Jeff, I'm a software engineer from Central Asia looking to apply at a big tech company in the US. Are there any ways to do that? People say getting visa sponsorship is nearly impossible. Um, so it's nearly impossible, I think is I don't see it that way. I think that there still are opportunities for sponsorship. Uh, you can, again, my recommendation is I don't love applying. I prefer networking or getting referred in, but if you don't really see strong options for that, you can apply. You are going to have a stronger barrier to entry applying to roles in the US when you're not in the US. That's just a reality. What I recommend, if possible, is that when people want to work in the US, is to try and get a job within that company in more of a maybe in your own country or in a country where sponsorship may be a little bit easier to start and use that as a stepping stone to get to the US. Uh, it really depends. Obviously, the bigger the company, the easier that path is going to be. easier path to sponsorship, more offices globally. But the US is one of the tougher markets to get sponsorship in. But just applying from another country and expecting them to jump on your resume, throw that sponsorship your way, that's a low likelihood. Your stronger likelihood would be networking or getting referred in, because that's at least going to open the door. But typically, when it's from a different country, just the recruiter or the person looking at your background is going to know that it's going to be a tougher path for them. I hope that helps. Thanks, Jeff. Sure. So, to provide further context, my casual chat was done 2 days ago, and yesterday I emailed a thank you note to the recruiter, and they're currently collecting feedback. Okay. And we'll try to get back ASAP once the hiring team has made a decision. Does that mean that they are deciding my fit only, or would they be considering or interviewing other candidates? Just any insights? We don't know. It's an okay question to ask your recruiter if you want, but it's a control item, and you can't really control whether it's just you or five other people. Like, that's totally outside of our control. You have controlled what you could control, doing well in the interviews, doing well in this casual chat, but we don't know if you're up against others or not. You can always ask that question, but again, at this point, I don't see it really helping you. So now you just have to do the worst part, which is sit back and wait. And that's really all you can do. Good luck. Come back next week and let us know what happens. But now you're just going to have to sit and wait. And that would be my recommendation, because again, all the other stuff is an unknown. Usually at that stage, it's usually only like a few people who might make it to that informal chat stage. It's not like 5 or 10 people. You're not going to be competing with that many. You might just be competing with yourself too. And hey, if they're gathering feedback and doing everything, that could be a really good sign. Keep us posted. Seeking sources to improve impromptu communication at work. I'm aware of your one-on-one interview coaching, but I'm interested in broader communication skills. Any recommendations? Sure. So, I always and just based on kind of like where we're at in 2023, I've seen maybe 25%, maybe that's a little high, but recently like 25% of people booking my practice interview just to have a consultation with me. And that's focused in on everything from resumes to LinkedIn profiles to networking strategies to overall communication strategies. So I'm happy to work on that with you. Broader communication skills are foundational, and going to be a game changer. I have a lot of strategies that I like talking about. I really like a less is more model. I really like being gracious and kind. I like defaulting to listening. I like having you be the last person to speak. And, like I mentioned earlier in this conversation, now understanding how to create really strong and powerful boundaries to protect our space is also going to be really important. These are just a few items, but so much of communication is being thoughtful and slowing down a little bit, taking our time to think before we speak, and really strong planning. Those are a few of the things we could talk about. Does Google care about the university I attended? I work for top companies, but attended a state school. No. And this is tough because I was the opposite side of this line, or whatever we want to call it. I used to think education mattered a lot. And then actually in my time at Google, I hired a number of people who had no college degree, and we are going to see a major shift. And that's not to put a negative on anybody who got your undergraduate, master's, PhD, but the trends are going away from college. It's moving away from that. And I don't think that college is necessary anymore. And if I had said that to myself 20 years ago, I wouldn't have believed it. But the world has changed so much, and I just don't think it's as necessary. So they're actually going to care way more about working for top companies than the fact that you went to a state school. It doesn't matter. So that's good news. Okay, we're back to your husband is in team matching stage and had 2 calls with a team for an eng manager role. Recruiter said EM role went to an internal candidate, job listing on careers page disappeared. Okay. For 2 weeks, listing showed up today for the same role and team. Should he ask the recruiter what is up, or is that being overly pushy? Assuming if he wasn't a fit, she would just tell him that. Yeah, it can be so casual and positive, right? So your husband can just reach out to the recruiter and say, wow, I saw the role pop up again today and I'm so excited to see that. Is there a potential opportunity for me to get in front of this role again? Just like really, really positive tone. So yeah, I would take that approach. Email that recruiter. Yeah, absolutely. If we see a job that same role, same team, right? We need to reach out. We need to be proactive. Absolutely. Awesome, Liz. Yeah, I think give them information up front and then dive into how you would go about solving those issues. Because I did a LinkedIn post earlier today. If we speak and talk in house, especially, for this audience, let's talk about job interviews. If you are able to tell me how you did it in your behavioral answers and how you would do it in your hypothetical answers, you will crush the competition. Most people really struggle to define and talk about the how. And so, how is just impactful in so many aspects of how we communicate with others. I did the team matching call with an HM and another member of her team a week ago, but I have not heard feedback yet. On average, how long does it take to get feedback after the team match call? Caleb, today's the day. Reach back out and check in. You should have heard already, but that's not a negative sign. Maybe just the team was talking to a few people. So reach out to your recruiter today. Come back next week and let us know what happens. What are some of the best approaches to find a job for senior level job? I think I read applying using regular channels like LinkedIn and company career site won't work. Do you have any recommendations for good resources? So, well, applying is applying right now. So I actually saw a really good video yesterday. Somebody giving advice on applying through LinkedIn or applying through Indeed. And they really strongly recommended going directly to the company website and the careers page. And I don't disagree with that because typically those job posts are going to be a little bit more viable. We don't really know, like, is this company really managing their online stuff? A lot of times they're not. But the best way to go about it is to try and network your way in or get referred in. If you don't know anybody at the company, getting referred in is really hard. Now, networking, let's just talk about it for a second. Most people know my approach. I like to find second connections on LinkedIn, and then I send them a connection request with a note, 300 characters, and I say, hey, Sue, came across your profile, came across this really cool article that I wanted to share with you. I think it's really relevant to your role. Have a great day. We don't ask for anything. Networking it's a slow burn. It takes a while. It's a slower approach, but it absolutely works. And then more commenting, liking, posting your own content on LinkedIn. The funniest joke that all of us career coaches, career content creators say is nobody watches our LinkedIn content, but LinkedIn is key. You've got to be spending a ton of time on LinkedIn. And so as you're thinking about doing these reach outs on LinkedIn, just make sure your profile is totally optimized. I've done a ton of videos on that. I have articles written on it. You can find all that information, my YouTube channel, my website, but start with LinkedIn. If you are going to apply, go through the careers page. That's the one recommendation I can give. I hope that helps. Yeah, Catherine. Targeted outreach to companies you like. And again, the reason why a giving model, especially on LinkedIn, is so viable and valuable is because you will stand out. You will be different. Everybody, use that loosely, but the vast majority of people on LinkedIn are trying to take from others on LinkedIn. Not everybody, but a lot of people are trying to take. I need this, give me this, are you interested in this? I need the job, etc. So just flip the script. Give people something. And my famous and classic story is 5 years at Google. I got hit up on LinkedIn thousands of times. Only one person in 5 years that I can remember asked me how they could help me. And I don't remember all the context, but long story short, I was like, how can I help you? Because it was such a different approach. I was shocked and I was like, oh, this is great. How can I help you? And ultimately, I was able to get them in front of a couple roles and they landed the job at Google. I cannot for the life of me remember this person's name. I wish I could, but I can't. But I helped them only because they wanted to give to me. And so I had used that approach in the past, but it just doubled down that it's so valuable and different because everybody just tries to take. And again, I want to be really loose when I say everybody, but the vast majority of people do. So when you give, is it a little bit of a longer approach? Yeah, but it definitely works. How would you? Oh, I don't know if we got this same we got similar question before. How would you approach discussing salary expectations during an initial recruiter phone call? Typically, I ask for the salary range. Yeah, I think we got this exact same question and it aligns with my expectations. You can always ask them for the range. If they ask for your expectations, don't give it to them. You don't have to. If they say we can't move forward without your expectations, say I'm open and negotiable for the right opportunity, but I haven't met with the team members. I haven't learned more about the role, so it's really hard for me to understand what would be a viable compensation for this position at this time. But I am really open, and so then when you get to the end, you become less open. You anchor high, you negotiate strongly, and just to take a step back, I think some people saw my post on LinkedIn. We got to be really careful with these smaller companies or companies that don't know how to negotiate because then a couple of clients have some really bad experiences lately. And so with these smaller companies, like the Googles and Metas and Amazons of the world, you can get after it in the negotiations. They're not going to rescind as long as you're gracious and kind. But not every company knows that style. So when you do get to those negotiations, I know I'm getting a bit away from your question, but when you get to that negotiation stage, what is your negotiation philosophy? Because I want to understand if I'm putting anything at risk by negotiating. Because if they say we don't do negotiations, they're probably not going to tell you that up front. So you need to dig. You just need to be really careful. These companies that rescind offers, they have a real major challenge. And we could go and try and coach these companies, but they're not going to change. It's probably being driven by somebody in leadership who had a bad experience with somebody who negotiated or somebody in talent acquisition who's trying to take too strong of an approach against people who negotiate for whatever the reason. We just need to try and find any information online about their negotiation philosophy or ask them directly. It's really important. Hey, Trevor. Been at TVC with Google Cloud for 3.5 years and really curious on how I can best represent my role on my company. Is it appropriate for me to put Google via XYZ company directly on my resume? Also, is that appropriate when applying directly at Google? Two different buckets, okay? So for your resume, I would just put Google. You've been working at Google for 3.5 years. Now, when applying to Google, you cannot say Google. You have to put your contracting company, right? And you should not be applying to a single role at Google. If you've been there 3.5 years, you've got to internally network as hard as you can. And it's kind of crazy. 3.5 years is a really, really long time to be a TVC. You're in the top 1% for TVCs. So, what's happening that you're not getting these full time opportunities? And so, you have to become your own advocate and your own driver, talking with people on your direct team, on collaborative teams, and really be pushing towards those roles. But you should be getting in front of those interviews without having to apply. You shouldn't have to do that. Now, here's the other step I recommend. You might get your hand slapped a little bit, but Um, on LinkedIn, I tell people don't put your contracting company. Just put Google. Now, Google might find that and get mad at you and slap your hand. So I just want you to be really careful. But that's what I did when I was there. And somebody reached out to me and they're like, "Hey, you're working through X company." I didn't change it. I wasn't a contractor for very long. Perfect storm. I got very lucky to get converted in about 4 months, but that was just more luck and timing than anything else. But I didn't change it. Sometimes they get upset with that, but I don't think it's a big deal. But definitely, if you are applying to jobs, I think it's okay to put Google on an actual official application, though, right? Like not just the trying to get a job, but like when they're going to do a background check, we want to make sure that that aligns with the contracting company. I know that was a lot. I hope it helps, but you should really be driving these internal conversations at this point, and there should be multiple managers that are interested in you because you have so much internal knowledge at this point. Okay, yeah, so I hope I answered that as well. Kevin, hey, Jeff, a recruiter contacted me for a position for which I have a few of the skills required, only some knowledge. Had the screening call and she said she wants to put me forward for the technical interview. Okay. Should I go ahead knowing that I don't have those skills and risk getting negative data point for future opportunities? Well, it may be worth noting that with the recruiter, and you can just send a follow up and say, hey, in the min or preferred qualifications, here are the technical items. And here are the technical items where I actually don't have those skills. So I just want to reiterate and make sure I'm setting myself up for success. A recruiter that is really pushing you into a job where you are going to fail in the interviews is not doing what's best for you. And you don't want to just get into that interview and get crushed because you don't have those specific technical skills. So it's kind of like we don't want to give up the opportunity, but we want to understand the reality of us actually getting that job. So, um, yeah, I would just do a little bit of a follow up, especially on the technical stuff. Like if we don't have those technical skills, that's just not a good use of anybody's time. And it's really the recruiter who is really having a lack of awareness, empathy, and understanding when it comes to not only thinking about you, the candidate, but the interviewer's time, etc. So you may want to just do a double check on that. A YouTube interview with an ex Google recruiter suggested internal referrals might not help you if the referrer doesn't know you or vouch for you. Is that accurate? Yeah. I mean, that's why these third parties where you like pay for a referrer, which is like total BS, by the way, like those should be blocked, and any employee found getting paid to give referrals should be fired instantly. Instantly. That is just such a bad practice. But yeah, they're going to try and understand the relationship with you, but getting referred in, we should be getting referred in by people we know, at least have some connection with. People should not be referring people they don't know, period. So, yes, that can have an impact on it. And sometimes we think that these internal referrals are going to help. And then we get into the process and we say, oh, I know these 10 people who work at Google. Let me give you all their names so you can run internal references. If you get into the interview process and you give internal references at any company, you better be 100% confident that those people are going to say good things about you, because that can actually stop the process. That's just a secondary note. I hope that helps. Thanks, Jeff. Final question. Do you have any tips to proactively move the needles to get more team matching calls out of my recruiter? All I can say is build a gracious and kind cadence. Ask them what is their preferred cadence. Can I check in with you once a week? Can I check in with you once every 2 weeks? Kind of get that permission. And then if you are going to send them jobs one at a time, the link, bullets for why you're a fit, your email and phone number in that email. Yep, you heard that right. An updated resume, your availability to talk about the role. Because if it's a role that's not on their team, they're going to push you over to somebody else. So just be keeping all those items in mind. Hey, Jeff, I'm back again. Unfortunately, I didn't get the position at G after the final round. My recruiter told me that I have a place at G, but I have to find the right team. She was willing to reach out to other recruiters on my behalf, but I was told that I might be eligible for a team match only if a similar role pops up. Is that true? How should I move forward? If your recruiter's willing to help, again, right back to that previous advice, build a cadence with them. Hey, I so much appreciate you willing to work with me. Is it okay if I check in with you once a month and maybe provide one role a month that I think is a fit? If you overwhelm them, they're not going to do it. And the reason why I know this is because it happened to me so often. I'd say, hey, like, you did really good. You didn't make it. I'm here to help. Like, send me a role on occasion, but just don't overwhelm me. And then they'd send me 10 roles and I wouldn't do anything because 10 roles, I have to click on the job link. I have to go find the recruiter. Then I'd have to share the information. Usually they weren't sharing any of that upfront information. And then all of a sudden, it's going to take me half an hour to an hour just to help them on that one email. It's too much time. I just didn't have the time. So we got to have the awareness about how we can make sure we're helping them to help us. I hope that helps. And I'm sorry you didn't get the job, but stay in touch with them. Should I enroll myself in a coding boot camp to know about coding if I'm a tech program manager? That's up to you. Personal choice. Okay. So coding would be for a TPM role that requires coding. Not all roles require that. Future state of coding and software engineers, it's going away. People, I think that there is this real pushback, especially in engineering, to think that we're always going to need software engineers. I don't think we will. I think maybe at a high level, you may need one person doing the job of 30 or 50 or 100, but AI is going to be able to write code without bugs, fix syntax, all those things that I know nothing about because I'm not an engineer, but AI is going to replace engineers. So in the long term, are those coding skills actually going to be necessary? Maybe, maybe not. So it's just something to think about, but it's such a personal choice. If you think it's going to add value, great. But some TPM roles are very domain specific, and it's not as necessary to have those coding skills. Caleb, thanks for being here. Okay, we're at an hour and 2 minutes. We probably lost a decent percentage of viewers because LinkedIn just didn't attach today. Kind of a bummer, but that's okay. I appreciate every single person who's here. So I'm going to roll into my sum up, but as questions continue to come in, I'm going to answer them and I'll hang out as long as people want to hang out. And since more questions came in, I'm not going to do my sum up yet. Let's get to those questions. Very useful session, Jeff. Thanks so much for doing this. Let me know how I can help you in the future. Here, Jim. Thanks, Catherine. There's only one thing I ask of people that I sincerely appreciate. If you like what I'm doing, just spread the word. That's it. That's all you can do for me. That provides more value than anything else. So if your friends or family members are looking for a job, if you think what I'm doing is valuable, just share my channel with them, share my LinkedIn with them, share my website with them. But a lot of people have asked about buy me a coffee and do all that stuff. The biggest way you can provide value for me is by sharing my stuff. And the LinkedIn shout outs are great too. When people shout out for me, do shout outs for me on LinkedIn, that increases the YouTube views, the subscribers. So that's a great way to help me as well. Thank you so much for asking. For more context on the internal referral, attended a Google networking event, connected on LinkedIn with a panelist, shared my resume, and this person agreed to give me a referral. I'm gonna say take the referral over no referral, but they're probably gonna note, hey, I don't really know this person, but they can still refer you. And it's a little bit of an uptick for your resume. Take the referral over no referral, even if they don't know you that well. In your opinion, data scientists will also disappear with AI? Yes. I think definitely a portion of that job. There's some really in-depth analysis that data scientists do that will probably mean those roles hang out for a while. And when I talk about AI taking over jobs, I'm talking about myself too. And so I think that there's this I just don't want there to be any misunderstanding that I don't think that I'm replaceable as well. I'm actually trying to replace myself with my AI tool. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do. But that replacement comes with all the years of knowledge and expertise to make it catered to what's going to really help people be successful. But then I'm allowing people to practice anytime on any device and at a much lower price point. So, when I think about the future state of my work, I'm thinking, well, I'm going to be replaced. So I just got to be prepared for that. And the other really big challenge that I want to mention a little bit with AI, because I'm a big believer that it's really going to change the world really, really quickly because it's going to learn much faster than we think it can. And so uh, the other big thing to recognize is the pushback against AI is it's imagining a perfect human, meaning like one of the roles I talk about replacing is recruiters. And everybody's like, I need a recruiter. Like recruiters think that they need recruiters, but it's this infallible, perfect recruiter. And we all know we've all been ghosted by recruiters. We've all had poor communication and poor feedback. So we're comparing AI to the perfect human. We need to start comparing AI to imperfect humans. And that's where I think you'll start to see where AI is going to take over a little bit. This is a big conversation, and people, don't really agree with my opinion on this, and that's totally cool. We're all allowed our own lens, but I think the future state is going to happen much quicker than people think. I hope in the future recruiters stop looking for reference and referrals. Just thoughts. Well, but the the importance of a referral is it removes all the ambiguity of an interview. Not all the ambiguity, but like I'll hire a referral 100% of the time. They're a known entity, they're known to do good work, and so I'm always going to lean towards a referral. It's a really, really valuable piece of data that the interviews will not give to me. So I like referrals quite a bit. Great session. Jeff, thank you. Following Gavin's question, what about customer facing roles like CEs at GCP? Will those also be replaced by AI? I think sales will be slower. People are still going to want to have some interaction with humans. Some of the role can be automated, but people are people and they're just going to want to chat through it. So I think sales facing roles and people facing roles and communication skills are key. That's the one piece that would probably allow my job to continue is the communication piece. And I'll be really candid with the audience. The goal of that I have right now, build the AI tool, build it up. When it hits the upswing, sell it. And then the second part, the next job for me is going to be more focused on communication skills and communications coaching. That's kind of that's the area where I'm a little bit more passionate about. And the only reason why I could get there is because of you, the audience. So much time spent communicating, so much time spent listening, taking data and information in. And the value of this community is that I think that my communication skills continue to evolve and adapt and get stronger over time. Hey, Jeff, as AI would probably be more efficient than engineers, not just software engineers, but also a wide range of engineers, including architect roles, correct? What skills do you think might be helpful and still relevant in the job market? Communication. It's hands down going to be the one item that's going to be the differentiator because we'll be able to tackle items with awareness, empathy, and all these other items that, yeah, you can build that into AI, of course, but there's the lack of human connection that AI will just never have. It's that energetic space that we have as humans. So that won't be able to be replaced. So I just think constantly and continually working on our communication skills is going to be paramount and the number one priority, especially for our future state. You have had two IR interviews at Google, found the process very overwhelming as someone who's dyslexic. Okay. I did let them know I'm dyslexic, but found very little accommodation. Okay. What's your recommendation for somebody who is neurodiverse in the interview process? Um, you need to continue to highlight it and call it out. Okay. So it should be set up by your recruiter that when you have these conversations, or you can just introduce it. And sometimes that just means slowing down, getting the interviewer to restate the question more than one time, taking a little bit more time. By the way, I recommend that for anybody, but these are a few of the steps that will be really helpful. And breathing, because we're creating more stress and anxiety for ourselves. So breathing through it will also be absolutely critical. I hope those items help. I just want you to keep trying. Okay. Obviously, they'd like you if they've kept you around for 3.5 years. Thanks a lot, Jeff, for your insights. When does Google take down a job posting? If casual chats means they've narrowed it down to a few candidates, but letting the job posting open kind of makes me concerned. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about the job postings. Sometimes they get a lot of candidates, an influx of candidates, and they take it down. Then they reopen it. Sometimes they don't take it down until they've hired the person. I never saw that there was a ton of rigidity around this item. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. Again, I want to, again, create the safe space, but this is just a control item. It's something you can't control. You have controlled the steps of the process that you can control. Now you just have to sit back and wait. That's all you can do. I hope that helps. I know it's not the ideal answer, but I hope it helps. I'm going to go into my wrap up. If any additional questions come in, I am more than happy to answer them. Practiceinterviews.com/AI. Our AI tool we're going to start getting early adopters on the tool this week. So not everybody's going to be on the tool, but we're going to open it up to as many people as we can. It's going to be in chunks. It'll start small. We'll start opening up a little bit more, and we'll be asking for user feedback. It's not going to be the $25 Amazon gift card, right? Like somebody who's willing to sit with my product manager and spend an hour with them, you get something pretty significant, like the interview course. That's a $600 value, right? Really important. We will be doing a Black Friday sale to bring down some of my services, my interview coaching, my negotiation coaching, and the course will all be discounted for a short period of time during Black Friday. We'll be sending those out. If you're not on our newsletter, if you just log in and create an account at practiceinterviews.com, you'll be added to that newsletter and get information on those discounts. If you like what I did today, smash that like button. If you've never subscribed, I go live 10 a.m. Pacific time every Tuesday and new original content every Monday. And I'm going to answer these last couple of questions and then hop off. One last quick item. I'm going to be doing 2 lives next week. So we'll be going live for an hour on this channel. And then I'll be going live on Holly Lee's channel as well at 11. So 10 o'clock here on my channel and 11 o'clock on her channel. And so that'll be some fun. Holly and I have been friends for a while. I'm kind of she's the Amazon person. I'm kind of the Google person. I think we would both say our coaching is more generic, but we've been attached to those organizations a little bit based on our content. If you have 2 CVs, one with multiple startups experience, which you have not heard other from Fang, which one will you pick? I'm confused by the question. If you have 2 CVs, one with multiple startups experience, which one? Okay, so I'm not sure what the other one is. If you can share what the other one is, that would be helpful. Please. Thank you. Jeff, have you seen new GPTs with specialized abilities? I think I saw an interviewing one in there. Yeah, I've started to see these and just wanted to let you know that you can create one by typing instructions, no coding necessary. Yes. Yes, but the reality is that I think we're probably getting close to that. I still think that hard coding in a web app is going to be beneficial. And yeah, I think if we're talking 6 months or a year down the road, I don't think I need my dev team as much. But timing's everything. And so I need to make that big upfront investment to just say, hey, now's the time to be a little bit earlier to market. It's going to cost significantly more than it would a year from now, but I'd rather just be first to market and have that money be reinvested by getting the right people on board. But yeah, it's getting crazy. There are a lot of no coding options out there, but I think that there's some additional complexity behind those items that when you're trying to build, um, what I'm building is going to be pretty robust, especially from an analytics perspective. So that's where it would be a little bit trickier. Yeah, thank you for that, though. Yeah, I know my timing is like, oh, it's just a little off, and I think the irony is for anybody who's been hanging out with me for years, I used to have a web app. We used to have an interview practice tool in there. This was a few years ago. And if AI had been out in that time or we had been able to repurpose, I would have really probably been first to market. The timing is everything for everything in life. So it didn't align that way, but I'm obviously still excited about where we're at. Probably learning some manual skills will be required for the worst case scenario with AI. Trades, skilled trades like construction, plumbing, electricians, those jobs are going to pay a ton of money in the future because, yeah, we're going to have really, it's not going to just be AI, but it's going to be robotics. But the complex tasks involved in those will need humans and skilled labor. People in skilled labor are going to make more than college graduates, hands down. And again, it's going to be so interesting to see the future state. Do we still have college in 5 years or 10 years? I mean, maybe not, right? Like it may not be relevant anymore. And it's just a crazy, crazy thing to be thinking about. I see one made by OpenAI called The Negotiator. Haven't tried it yet. Okay. Okay, cool. This is really helpful, Liz. I mean, I thank you so much. I appreciate you as always, but I appreciate all the feedback and information because it's just like data and information is power, and we just want to take any information that comes our way and try and apply it. So thank you everybody so much for being here. I will be live next week. It's going to be a fast session, probably 55 minutes, so I can run and use the bathroom before I hop on with Holly Lee. So 2 live sessions. I'll be throwing that link out for the one with Holly as well. So you get to catch me live twice next week if you want to. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Thanks.